Jaunita Mega and Christina. So thank you both for being here. I'm really thrilled to have you both here.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
So before shooting a lot of questions and knowing about their industry, their experience, I would like to give a brief about these two ladies, although words are not enough, but uh, they are the genius in their industries. And starting with Christina, she is the Director of Innovation and Sustainability of BBASE Design Group. We were talking behind the camera, and she told me that she have experience from all over the world. She has been traveling a lot, and being an artist, she's also a founder of Revive Workshop. Christina brings over 20 years of expertise in sustainable fashion, circularity, and creative innovation, working with leading brands, global brands, while shaping the next generation of designers. She will be sharing insights on sustainability, circularity, and how digital tools are reshaping industries like fashion. She's a genius of fashion. Uh, I would request Christina to share more about her if I missed anything.
No, sure. Hi, everybody. Really honored to be on this platform and to share a little bit of my experience. I have, as mentioned, 20 years experience within the industry. I also teach at LaSalle College of Art, sustainability and entrepreneurship. I've taught at the Hong Kong Polytechnic. I've worked with institutions here on different projects as an industry expert at NTU, as well as at Savannah College of Art and Design. And so we've always looked at, and my experience encapsulates just thinking differently and thinking outside the box. I've also written a paper specific to that called Thinking Outside the Box with Sustainable Design, and I've presented it at different symposiums in Hong Kong. So I'm excited to share a little bit more of my journey, and I'm always keen to collaborate and find ways where we can speed up the process when it comes to sustainability and innovation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much once again, Christina. Moving ahead with another speaker of ours, she is the business strategist, executive coach, and transformation leader, very much holding a rich experience in business advisory and scaling companies to market leadership. Jaunita shares a sharp lens on growth strategy, transformation, and empowering teams through digital learning. She will be helping us understand the mindset of leaders as she has been an executive coach. So, without any delay, I will request Jaunita to please share more about her and let us know.
Thank you, Ayushi, and good afternoon, everyone. It's lovely to be here. Happy and excited to share my passion around education and how they can actually unlock potential, and also leveraging of some industry work that I've done as a coach, and how we work with corporate clients to help them shift mindsets for the leaders and also teams, right? And how they can make change, make a lasting change to be able to transform self and also organizations. So I have been involved very much in startups within education, so ed tech as well. So I've been a salesperson, managing accounts, APAC with an APAC remit. I've also had the chance of looking at the commercials of a business and making sure that it can grow. We've done zero upwards to a couple of $1 million within the executive education spaces. It's really, really exciting. Passionate around coaching. Why? Because I think that we can make a great impact there. I do some pro bono mentoring as well. I'm with the NTUC UPME and also NTU, the university, so mentoring some students there. So that's a side passion project. And I am also involved in some not-for-profit work. Recently been appointed to the fundraising committee of the Singapore Red Cross. So that's a little bit about me on the outside and also within the corporate world. So love to chat more with everybody and can share from here. And I think there's so much of learning that we can unlock from each other through this forum.
Thank you very much, Jaunita. So we can see the people are, joining the session. They are shooting questions. So before any delay, I will request Christina to answer first of our questions, and that is related to how digital transformation is influencing sustainability and circularity in the fashion industry, and what key digital tools do you see driving these changes, and if you are using any specific tool, that anything that you are a fan of.
Yeah, definitely happy to share. We are seeing digital tools really influencing and spearheading a lot of the innovations around sustainability. One of them is track and trace. We're one of the first to actually adopt a track and trace system for the design house that I work for. And that is to map out our supply chain, allow us to be able to look into different areas that we can also improve on sustainable initiatives. So without being able to map out your supply chain, you can just basically be shooting in the dark. So those are one of the main platforms that we've signed up to. Another is carbon measurement. We signed up to digital carbon. That's another platform we signed up to measure our carbon footprint. We're also looking to work with a carbon measurement company out of Singapore that will be able to measure the carbon footprint per product and be able to communicate to the consumer how much carbon footprint has been used. And all of this is moving towards legislation and policy that is coming also out of Europe, Canada, and various countries that are spearheading digital transformation. So the digital product passport is coming into effect in 2026. So it's not something that we're just doing because we feel like it. There is policy and legislation around it. We're looking at the landscape. We're looking at what customers are asking for. They're asking for transparency. There is mistrust around, sustainable initiatives. So how can we rebuild that trust and make sure that we're communicating really clearly and directly, and traceability and transparency is a major factor. Also, with legislations coming out of the EU around green claims and greenwashing, brands are wanting to mitigate that risk because it's really a big risk. And so transparency really is at the core of that. And then by mapping out all of our supply chain, we are actually able to plan for circularity. It is a really big target to be able to take a traditional product and then try build it into a circular system. So we're looking at different types of innovations, including digital. So we're looking at phygital development, so where we're integrating 3D design, 3D showrooms to actually reduce the amount of waste that we're creating around the sampling process. And then we're looking at innovative materials for the actual physical product. Now, those are really big concepts and like a 1 minute answer, but I'm happy to elaborate if anyone's got any specific questions on those.
Okay, so we have a question from one of our customers in the back stage, and she is asking that what will this strategy that you are implementing, or very sustainable and measuring carbon footprint and everything, affecting somewhere or the other the consumer purchase power? Because so let me rephrase the question again. Is it affecting the sales?
So within the last few years, we've seen a transition of sustainable materials increasing. So over the last 5 years, increasing from 20% to more than 70%.
Oh, wonderful.
Of an adoption rate. And so that is coming, and again, depending on the region, predominantly we work with the US. So there is a need to want to have product that is sustainable, but we are seeing that the customer in general is very price sensitive. So it has been a journey in trying to align on what the customer desires when it comes to an ethical product and wanting the brands to be behaving in an ethical way and aligning that where they're not needing to have to pay for it. So that's what we've been working on a lot. So is there an appetite? Yes, but the customer doesn't want to have to pay for it. Yeah. So our job to try and find an equilibrium amongst that within our supply chain and different types of negotiations, which isn't always easy.
Right. So using these digital tools are affecting the product price. As you said, that people are price sensitive, definitely. But at the same time, sales are also increasing.
Yeah. So sales are increasing. There is an increase of appetite for sustainable product. We are looking at it as a long-term investment, not a short-term investment. So the investments in the digital platforms are needed to, as we map out, we're able to see that return on investment. We will be able to streamline processes. We will be able to find inconsistencies within the supply chain and streamline that. So it's not just about sustainability, it is about implementing better processes. And so whenever I have these conversations with everyone, it's not very different to how business has been done before. We're implementing best practice. We're wanting to ensure that the people within our supply chain are looked after. We want to make sure that the product that we are bringing into and selling is a sustainable product, and that we're using digital platforms to ensure traceability, transparency, and that validates us as a business and ensures that makes us stand out as a business. So these are long-term investments to ensure that we're building towards a sustainable future, not just environmentally, but also economically, because we would see that our processes will be streamlined by implementing AI, by implementing digital services, by implementing an ERP system. We will be able to see improvements across the supply chain and the way that we do business.
No, this is amazing. I mean, like a responsible, person or group of people who are conscious about the environment as well as conscious about their business. Also, as you said, bringing an equilibrium between nature and production. So yesterday I was having a conversation with one of my friends who is producing recycled papers, and it is somewhere or the other affecting the stationery market. The cost of recycled goods are comparatively higher as compared to the traditional production. So that is the reason I wanted to ask if it is affecting the product price in your industry as well.
Yeah. So short term, it does always. As it becomes more and more adopted, it is economies of scale where we look at the price then becoming equal to, if not the same as a virgin product. So we have examples of that with new innovative materials that have come into our business. For example, recycled polycarbonate for eyewear 5 years ago was more expensive, 20 cents more, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a substantial amount, is now at the same price as a virgin material, and it's taken about 5 years. That's kind of what you need to kind of think about is once it starts becoming more and more adopted, the price will go down. Once people don't start paying for it, the price will go up. And so it is economies of scale. And then we're seeing the same thing with another material that we have that we would really like to be adopted within the industry. It's a circular material, and it's not being adopted because it's just too new. So again, it's 20 to 30 cents more expensive on average. And we just have conversations internally that we'll take the same approach that we did with the other one. There will be customers that want to buy that. As it becomes more popular, the price for that will go down, or it will meet with our other materials. But we do need to take conscious strategies to push it and see who's willing to take it on board. And it's not easy. So I don't want to downplay that it is easy. It does require a long-term approach, and it does require constant communication as to why this material is better. What are you trying to achieve by offering this material versus virgin? And it comes down to cost, but it also comes down to quality. Can you prove that the quality of your material is not worse than what they would be getting with virgin? And what is it that they're actually paying for? Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. It's good to know that you are using digital tools for tracking traceability, transparency, and that's amazing. That's good to know. And moving ahead with another question for Jaunita, I wanted to ask, what is your experience? According to your experience, what is the biggest mindset shift leaders need to make to drive successful digital transformation in their organization, their thought process? What shift they need to bring?
Yeah. Okay. So based on advisory work and also learning experiences that we've developed in the past and delivered in the past, I think the first thing in the mind of a leader, it's really to ask themselves the why, right? Why do you believe in a certain course of action, and why you need to do it for your business? So it's not following what the industry is doing or somebody else is doing and thinking that can work, but really digging down deeper to find out whether is this very meaningful for me and my business, so that I can make a change. So I think that the leaders need to sink in deeper. So I find that with the people that we talk to, the leaders that we talk to, those that are able to have more conviction and belief, and it's really the confidence after that they get, right? And that they'll be able to make a sustainable effort to shift thinking within their teams, and then to shift the business. So oftentimes, it's really a marathon. So a lot of the leaders that we talk to, they always say that it's a marathon. It's people are afraid at the start because they're not sure, how do I make a transformation, right? Do I buy this tool? Do I get that tool? So very close to what Christina spoke about just now, right? We need to balance that out, right? Between the short, what you can do in the short term, and are you actually making concrete steps to be able to get to the long-term goal? The other thing that I think they talk about is also finding new ways of working, right? New ways of working within teams, because the leader just cannot do it himself or herself, right? You still need to move the team together in unison, and at the speed that the team is able to move at, to be able to reach the goals. So changing ways of working, and what would it mean for their own team, right? Do I follow the Amazon way? Do I follow the Starbucks way? No, I can't, right? But we have to find something that's unique to us, what we're comfortable with, what we're confident in, and then to be able to make the change. Mindsets around making incremental change, I think it's very key, right? So sometimes when we see the goal down there, we just want to run and sprint, but sometimes you can't. You need to build the muscles, you need to build strength, you need to understand running in the rain, running in a hot weather, it's all very different, right? So the ability to do that is also very key, I find. The other thing is, how do you mentally handle mistakes, right? How do you manage risk? Of course, the leaders will have to report to either to the board or to higher management, right? How much leeway can the organization handle if a mistake has happened, right? Of course, we have to manage risks when we take a business decision, but how much more more space do you want to grow outward, right? To be able to experiment and innovate. And then you have to realize that sometimes things do not work out, right? But how do you mitigate the risk and then to be able to still make sure you're able to recalibrate and get to your ultimate goal? So it seems like there's a lot of things that you have to go through here, but I've seen leaders who succeed because I find that they've done the inner work. There's really a lot of inner work that they've done within themselves, picked up new skills, new habits, and to actually walk the talk and to be able to also inspire their teams so that their teams can also make the change. So that's the summary I would have.
As a leader yourself, this is my personal question. What will be your approach towards taking a risk, adopting new solutions? I mean, we have to be very selective in choosing a certain strategy, certain tools. As a technology person, we spend amount of money in certain tools, take license, train our people, and then invest our time and energy. So how do you take those decisions? What are your approaches? Because somewhere or the other in the back of the head, you are mentally prepared that it may work, it might not. So what are you? Is there certain ways that you tackle this situation?
Yeah. I think it's. I mean, even through the coaching that we've done, right? So I'm learning also from people that we talk to, clients that we talk to, corporate clients. There's no hard and fast rule. The answer, it depends, may be a bit nebulous and very big, but essentially, for me, I still go back to knowing our why first, right? That to me is very important because it will give you the clarity, right? So I found that in a startup situation, you have more leeway to take risks, right? And you can, right? Managing the financials, managing your investors, then you can take a little bit more risk. Of course, you've got to put up the paper and make sure that everybody agrees. But in a situation where the teams are already formed, right, and then there is a certain way of doing things already, then maybe I think more communication is needed, clarity in the communication to get feedback from the ground, to get a better sensing of what's going on in the ground before we can make a decision and manage the risk that is there. So recognizing that sometimes things do not work out, right? That for me was very hard to accept initially. But in speaking with my own mentor, with my own coach, right, I have learned that you need to give yourself that space, and to recognize that sometimes it may not work and unlock the learning from that. Because for me personally, I feel nothing ever goes to waste, right? There's always a lot of learning, and then what do you do with that learning for the next chapter that you're going to write? Either as a leader of another team, or you starting out a new business or a new venture, or just exploring if you want to pivot your career. So I think there's always a lot of learnings that we can unlock.
Right, absolutely. Very well said, Jaunita. I understand this because this question of mine depends upon the scenario, situation also. We cannot give a defined answer. So very true. Christina, the next question of mine is related to data and how data tracking and everything can help your business. Although in the previous question itself, you have answered, everything, most of the things that we wanted to hear. But here, I want to twist this question a little. This question was by one of the audience. Let me just frame this question, although we have got much clarity from you. What role do data and technology play in helping your company track reduced environmental impact? You already told about transparency, tracking, and many other information. My question for you here is, since you have worked in fashion industry for a long time, do you prefer to build a team in-house for technology, or do you prefer to outsource it, or what is your approach here?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, mainly because we've had different experiences. in dealing with that. We've tried homegrown, building a platform internally. We built a 3D showroom with an external partner, but he basically felt like he was part of the team. Like we felt like we were working together, designing it together, implementing it together. And out of that experience, we've come out with something truly unique and truly inspiring. And where you miss out, though, is the expertise of a much bigger team if you were to go externally with an existing platform or plug and play. So it really does depend on what it is that you're trying, your objective. You need to be really clear. We approached it really holistically with a design mind, not really a technology mind. But there are challenges with both. And I'll give a really simple example. We implemented Microsoft Teams during COVID. Mm-hmm. And into a business that isn't so technology, focused, it was really challenging. The fashion industry and the supply chain industry, especially with SMEs, very agile. You need to move fast. I'm not going to sit down and try to figure out a whole new platform and system. I just want to use Skype and I want to use WhatsApp, and that's what I know and that's what I understand. So training the team and shifting that mindset, just what Jaunita was saying, requires dedication. So change management is something that I have found needs to go hand in hand with implementing digital transformation, or at least understanding that you will need to train your team, whether it is internal or whether it is external. Now, your question was, would I look at having an internal digital department or external? If finance was not an issue, I'd have both. I need one internally to understand and communicate and use similar language with an external provider. And the external provider, you rely on them to bring intel. And so I'll give an example of that is that we've tried to implement 2 platforms using existing technology base. And because we don't have a tech expert in-house, it's a different it's like speaking a different language. So they take extra time to tell us and try and understand what we need, and they don't understand our language. So our language is fashion, industry, supply chain, eyewear. So it's like we're speaking Chinese and Greek. It's like not even Chinese and English. Yeah, look, we're taking 2 really ancient, complex languages, and we're trying to figure out how to make this work. So having someone within your business, at least just one, that understands technology will help and expedite if you decide to go externally. But building a team internally requires a lot of investment and a lot of time and a lot of resources. So short answer, we have, even though we've had this great example of our 3D showroom, we have chosen to go with external partners that tell us, this is how you're going to do your carbon measurement, this is how you're going to do this is how you're going to do that. Now, it's not 100% perfect, but it is better than us trying to figure it out on top of all the jobs that we're trying to do. Yeah.
Wow, wonderful. I can totally understand that, because one person in-house is kind of building a bridge between, your company and, right?
Correct. You need the bridge. Otherwise, you've got a team of people trying to figure out what the external party is saying, and you can't fully rely on what the external brings unless you give them time to understand your business. And that you need to pay for that, right? That's additional time on the project. That's additional time so you have to take that into consideration, that they don't necessarily, even though they're an expert in technology, doesn't mean that they're an expert in your business.
Well, that is a statement on us as well. When we deal with different companies, different industries, which are working very differently as compared to us, it's all French and Latin for us, as you mentioned. So can relate very well. What about you, Jonathan? What is your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think it's the communications, right? I mean, it's like what you said, that it's two different languages. And in Singapore, I find that we love all these abbreviations, right? PIECTE, ERP. So sometimes when we go in to do learning advisory or business advisory, we get that jargon there, and for us to be able to connect the dots quickly, right? It's so essential because you don't want to go in and make people feel that you don't quite understand what we're doing. So that all the more why conversations I feel is so important. But conversation is also two ways. I mean, you do have to communicate clearly. That's what I've learned. But I think the other party also must have a willingness and an openness to want to listen and to make whatever change you want to do together as a team. Yeah.
Oh, very well said. Being into tech industry, I have observed many pros and cons of this scenario, and I've observed that since there is a gap between the two industries, be it anything like A is an industry and B is technology. B is always very important for A, and by A I mean it could be fashion industry, it could be edtech, it can be anything, right? So yes, it is very important, and this is the reason we believe in educating our clients, customers, prospects first, because you just talk to them and show them fancy dreams, and if they are convinced and the purpose is not served, of course, it's a losing situation scenario for both the companies, the A company and the B company. So very, very well explained. Thank you, Christina and Jonathan, for your detailed answers. Moving ahead, I will go ahead with Jonathan again. Another question is, how can SMEs leverage digital transformation to move for survival mode to growth, especially in the competitive markets?
Yeah. I think just now you mentioned, Ayushi, that it is no longer an option, right? Transforming, evolving, making that lasting change. It's a must. It's critical. It's mission critical, right? So strategy papers, I find sometimes as we speak with leaders and teams, we get excited with strategy papers, right? But I find that it's the execution that is also very key, right? The how you do it, with what cost, how do you manage the risk, and what is your outcomes. I think it's very, very important. If you don't start out with very clear outcomes and how you can measure it so that you can recalibrate and make the change later, then whatever it is, whatever transformation project you're doing, then you're going to come out feeling that, what did we just do, right? Did we get to our objective? So that must be very clear. Strategy to execution, I think it's very clear. So in this competitive market, and here, at least in Singapore, right, the government has got quite a few funding options, the CTC, the grants. So I think whatever support that we can get from the government, the SMEs should go to that first. I think the government has got agencies that can bring in some experts as well to talk about how you can tap on this funding support. I think that's key, right? So it could be for a CRM system, or a procurement system, whatever it is that you need for a new machinery. So I think that for international expansion even, so tap on that first, right? Then you will know that yes, there's some support there. So what do I have to do next, right? To make sure that whatever strategy I've crafted can be executed. The other thing is, you see, when people talk about digital, so sometimes I feel that we think of the software, the systems, to purchase something hard. But the transformation here and here is also as critical, I find. Probably you should start with that first, right? How do you actually transform teams, the way you work together? How do you overcome challenges? When a new team is formed, you will have that tension, that stress at the beginning. The teams need to recognize that it is part of teaming, right? As a team
Right.
is forming, and then you normalize it, and then you work through it, and you work within that tension to get ultimately to get out of it is actually to go through it, right? That's also, I think, very, very key, so that you can move from just, that survival kind of thinking to a totally growth kind of mindset. Because that survival mode that you're in is actually very counterproductive, right? So you really, the environment, the feeling, the thinking, the feeling of confidence, the feeling that your business has a purpose, right? So all that can be overlaid. It could be a learning intervention, it could be a coaching intervention, right? It could be a team building session. So these things can happen along the way, while this is what I call the hardware, as you gather the finances to support your hardware purchases as you're transforming,
Right.
So seems like a lot. So the teams and the leaders need to prioritize clearly what is key first. If your data dashboards is poor, then you want to build that first. Do that first, so that you can make the projections, and you got to maybe clean your data, make your projections, and then refine your strategy, right? So that your execution can move along more smoothly.
Correct. Building the foundation is the key. Even if you are using a common email platform, it should be robust enough, understandable to the employees. They can use it, they can apply in the real life. Yeah, very, very well said, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So moving ahead with another question for Christina here. We are talking about the profitability and purpose of your business. So my question here is, for businesses starting their sustainability journey, which fashion industry is very well in this, how can digital innovation help them balance both profitability and purpose? I think you're on mute.
Yes. Yeah. That's a very big question in order to benefit profitability, but not very dissimilar to what Jaunita was saying in regards to setting a goal and a purpose and an objective. So, if you're able to put your foundation in place when it comes to digital transformation, you will reap the benefits. But you need to be able to plan for it and understand what those benefits are. So they're not always going to be financial in the sense that it is a cash return, but it could be market presence. It could be that it elevates your brand, your visibility, and eventually it will translate into sales. But the way businesses are structured today, they want a like-for-like return, a transactional return. And it is, if I pay for this, I want to be able to see the return within, like, almost instantaneously.
Yes.
And so that is where the challenge comes in, and where the answer to your question is a little bit more complex, because your return isn't going to be a like for like when you invest into digital innovations. You will see it though when you speak to clients. And we know that when we go into client meetings and we say we have a 3D showroom, and we have track and traceability, and we have an R&D facility, and we have 3D printing, and we can do X, Y, and Z, we already are standing out from our competitors. So your return might not be a like-for-like cash return, but it very much will secure you as a differentiator within your market if you're able to implement it strategically within your business. So we are moving towards a future where it is unavoidable that you need to implement digital platforms, techniques. Now it's your decision whether you're going to be one of the innovators, the ones at the front, whether you're going to be a mass adopter or whether you're going to be a laggard. And there are pros and cons to all of that. If you're a laggard, it means maybe you've not invested in the first innovation, but you get to learn on what everyone else is doing. However, you've been left behind and maybe you haven't gotten the clients that you could have gotten had you been at the forefront. So how do you want to structure your business? How do you want to present yourself is really important for you to understand what sort of digital adopter you are. And you need to consider that there is no choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to adopt, like you are adopting digital innovation regardless, whether you think WhatsApp is a digital innovation or not, it is. Where, you know, there are companies that use WhatsApp as the main form of communication. And we even saw it in the news the other night. It's not WhatsApp, it was not Telegram. What did they use in the US where they're actually sharing military information? But we're actually seeing a very agile approach to how digital technology is being implemented into communication, into the way that you work, and how security around that is really important across the business. So we're looking at adopting AI into our business, and our leadership is saying, but what about the security around that? So your strategy needs to be really clear. Where do you want to position yourself in the market, and what sort of digital technologies are important for your business, but also for your future growth? Did I answer your question?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You answered the very root causes that we need to focus on, and very crucial for adopting digital transformation. Very well said. So, before moving ahead with the last question, you both are leaders in your industry, and this question is very personal because we have many people who are leaders in their industry but are not very well aware of digital transformation technology, and with the pressure of the market around, so much transformation, so much AI buzz, and new software, new solutions. Many competitors of ours in the field of technology are pitching our industry owners and selling their products and services. I know it is very difficult for you as a leader to choose between software solutions, strategies, goals. What is your approach? Like, what are the key factors which you consider before adopting any specific technology, tool, or strategy, digital strategy in your business? Yeah, so that is my question. I hope I'm pretty clear here. I mean, what are the things that convince you? Sorry, yeah.
Sorry, Ayushi, are you saying based on how and who you would select if we are taking up a platform?
Maybe you will not select. But because whatever the world is selling to you, I'm not talking about. I'm very specific about the technology and tools.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if anyone is trying to reach out to you in an active or a passive way, for example, Instagram Reels, technology events, workshops, software, even if your friend is recommending a certain tool that is going to help you in your business and all, what are the key factors that you will consider for yourself before taking a decision of adopting or not adopting? Or, I mean, if there is a particular checklist, or because sometimes there is no pain at all. People sell things according to the pain points of the audience, right? But sometimes there is no pain at all, and people create a psychology around that this is a kind of pain in this, that there is a gap in this particular digital world. And if you adopt this particular kind of solution, your business will thrive, right? And you as a decision maker, right, you have to be very critical about it. You have to analyze the factors. So just wanted to understand, how you approach to these situation scenarios.
I can give you different examples because
Yeah.
one was around carbon measurement platform. Took us about 3 years to decide. And the other one was our track and trace platform. And it was, I'm very pedantic when it comes to making decisions. So I'll put an Excel sheet together.
Perfect. That is what I wanted to. Yeah. Okay.
I'll put an Excel sheet together. I'll have all the companies down. I will try and separate it into the options. What do they offer? How is this my benefit? What about their features could feed into my future strategies or planning? Some of them are not relevant, some of them are. I do have to say, with carbon measurement, I call that industry the wild, wild west. As putting together an Excel sheet of all the different companies that reached out, whether they were a friend, whether they were people that reached out to us directly, whether they were in the industry for 10 years or for 1 year, whether I liked them, and they were nice. These were all factors that I put into play, whether they were confident and they made me feel that they know what they're talking about versus other ones that you could tell they were just selling you, chasing you,
correct,
running you down. My Excel sheet was really clear as to, from a price perspective, from a service perspective, and so forth. But in saying that, this industry was very confusing for me. And because there were so many providers and so many different offers, it delayed my decision.
And that is totally fine. Yeah.
And so I think if you're asking from a decision maker perspective, it's an Excel sheet. If you're asking for, if I'm a service provider, what can I support? What can I do? Is just clarity. The more unclear your services are, the less likely people are going to sign up. And when it came to carbon measurement, I kept asking questions like, how much time will this take out of my day for me to implement this new technology? And no one was able to give me that answer. So therefore, with a really small team, I wasn't willing to invest in new technology or platform. If they had turned around and they'd said, we just need one person or two people, or they had been just really clear, my decision making would have been much faster, for sure.
All right. What about you, Jaunita?
Yeah, I echoed the same sentiments as Christina, around fit for purpose, resourcing within the team, because that's really real. There's already a big sense of overwhelm, right, with all the tools that are out there, and life seems to be moving at is at a hyper speed, right? With all you're bombarded by change.
Absolutely.
And then here you are grappling with what does it mean for me, and then here we are having to map our futures, right? We're scenario planning, managing with the resources we have on hand in a highly, highly competitive market. So for me personally, in taking decisions, relationships are very important. And I also hear that from clients who come to us to work with us, right? They say that they want to be comfortable with who they're talking to. They want to be working with collaborators and partners, not a transactional relationship. People who truly care for my business and want to grow together, right? People who will walk with me and give me that sort of support. So I think that's a very key, the relationship business. Of course, the product must be reliable, right? I would love to see referrals from others, hear of good referrals from others. And the contact point is also very important, I find.
Right, absolutely. The reason I am asking this question on screen is there are many people who are not aware of certain technologies, and I don't blame them. It's not their field of expertise, right? But with the market boom, many company owners are selling them those products which might not be relevant for them, or maybe they are using a similar product. Okay, it's the smartness of the words that they are using, the sales strategies that they are using, and they are I would rather say brainwashing people into purchasing them, ending in purchasing their product. As a result, they are not happy, they are confused, their business might get severely affected, right? So definitely, I would highly recommend you to make sure that things should align to your goals. Even if the company is not going as far as what the world is showing it to be, but your company should be very strong from the roots. And the tools that you are using, of course, if they are in the market, they are going to upgrade themselves, match the pace with which the world is growing. So that's amazing. Using Excel sheet, making a wise decision, aligning it to the goal is very important. Well, very well said, Christina and Jaunita. Thank you for your answers. Moving ahead with the last question of today, and my question is for Jaunita. In your view, how important is investing in digital learning? And now here comes my favorite part, and upscaling. Digital learning and upscaling as a part of companies' transformational strategy. Do you think that this is going to be an important part in all the industries in the world? Talking about technology training.
Yeah. So my own view is we are living in an age of algorithms and AI, right? I think even more so, our clients, as we talk to our clients, our corporate clients, they ask, what does it mean to be human in this age, right? So upskilling, it is critical, right? Upskilling, getting people up to speed, making people feel that they are not replaced by AI. That's real, right? People are feeling that my jobs are going, and you've heard a lot of reports from big companies who are talking about layoffs, etc. So clearly, that's very, very important. We live in a digital world, so you cannot avoid not doing learning in a digital space, right? I think we're generally time poor these days. So micro learning with the tech firm that I am in now, we've got a whole suite of soft skills micro learning. So we hear a lot of clients talking about that, wanting to embed that into a longer learning journey with coaching interventions, assessments along the way, workplace learning interventions, just to make sure that the upskilling piece will be something that can stick with the individual, right? It's not just going in for a 2-day class, coming out and expect somebody to become a better leader. It doesn't work that way, right? What are the interventions that you can put in place? Community learning, collaborative learning, assessments along the way, active feedback, and involving the managers, even support from the top. I think all these can come out to be a very beautiful learning journey that can help people upskill. So the tech will enable the learning, right? And again, it has to be purposeful. You're not just doing learning because the whole world is talking about upskilling, relearning. Let's tap on the funding that's there. At least in Singapore, Malaysia has got a different, is in a slightly different funding space. So you run and do it because everybody is doing it. It doesn't work that way. Really, it has to be purposeful. So you have to be clear of your goals and what is the ROI you want to get out of that learning journey. And it has to be crafted and project managed properly so that the deliverables are very clear at the end. Then people will feel that, hey, the company has done something for me and I'm really feeling that I've gotten my learning journey, I've upskilled, right? And I'm confident to make a change. So we want to go beyond competencies, but to give people the courage and confidence to make a lasting change so they can transform.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Application of learning with the set mindset and goal, right? Absolutely.